Hey everyone, this is Ryder from YoGov and Skip, and I'm here with Isla. It's Tuesday, April 21st, and I've got some important breaking news regarding the latest stimulus package. An agreement has been made, so I'm going to talk about exactly what that means for the PPP program, the EIDL program. Those amounts have been finalized, and when the vote is going to take place, that'll mean that money is back in these programs, and the private lenders and banks and the SBA can continue to make progress on these programs. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm also going to talk about other important information regarding other private and public grant opportunities and loan opportunities. So I think it's very important, given that so many of these programs take time to apply. They're being overrun with applications, and so we are collectively waiting much longer than we originally anticipated for a lot of this. And of course, the reality that we're in means we may be in this position for the coming weeks and months, certainly, where we need funding. So I'm going to talk about more options. I think that's really important to go over because my advice is always, again, this is for entertainment purposes, but generally speaking, I think one should apply for as many options as possible. Apply early and often. Maybe that's a good mantra for you. So I'm going to go over that. I'm also going to go over a few other resources that will be helpful, including a few other people on YouTube that are doing a great job in providing daily information. So I'm going to talk about that. Thanks so much for your continued support. It means a lot to Isla and I, even though she's sleeping right now. Please subscribe. It means a lot to us because it allows us to research this stuff every day and continue to bring important updates, because so much of this is time sensitive, and I do these videos every day because the information is changing every day. So thanks again, and I'll leave links to all the things I'm talking about today in the comments, in the notes rather, and leave comments if you have questions. Okay, so first, on the breaking news, I'm going to cut to the chase. So a $484 billion deal has been reached. This was just announced that the folks in Congress had agreed. Here's what's in the bill, which is expected to be voted on later today, Tuesday, April 21st. So if it's voted on later today in the Senate, that means in theory the president can sign it by tomorrow, and the funding will become available back for the PPP and the EIDL. So here's what's being allocated. These are the latest numbers. They've generally been the same, but actually we have a little bit more money in the pots right now. So $310 billion has been allocated for the PPP, an additional $310 billion. According to the Secretary of Treasury Mnuchin, he thinks that's going to be enough for all of the small businesses that need help. So there are 30 million small businesses in the U.S., and a lot of them have applied to this program. And so if you're doing the back of the envelope math, you're trying to figure out, well, okay, like if everyone applies for X amount, will that cover it? So it remains to be seen. But one thing that I will note is that according to our data, and we have had tens of thousands of people self-report their EIDL loan status. So these are the disaster loans, and the up to $10,000 advances, $1,000 per employee now is what they switched it on people. That our self-reported data, we've had over 20,000 people self-report, so it's around 0.5% of total applications, if we believe that around 3 million have been submitted, shows that around 4% today have received some form of advance, and it's been going up. So the last couple of days it was closer to 3%, and last week it was closer to 2%. So that's good news that the EIDL loans are still being processed, and so we hope that continues. And now that there's going to be $60 billion, so this is the next point, $60 billion for the EIDL program. that will help continue the distribution for these up to $10,000 loans, and then also hopefully give the opportunity for people to apply for these longer-term low-interest EIDL loans that they've traditionally always had, which are larger amounts, up to $2 million. And then the one plug I'll give for the self-reporting tracker, if you haven't gone yet, it's free to use, and we also give links to breaking news, funding opportunities, loan opportunities, grant opportunities. So you can go to helloskip.com /loan tracking, helloskip.com /loan tracking, or SBAloanstatus.com to get more information about that. And thanks to everyone who's been self-reporting. It's great to get some transparency and understand how much is progressing in terms of progress with the EIDL program. So $310 billion for the PPP, $60 billion for the EIDL, and then this is the last $100 million is what Democrats have been really pushing for. $75 billion to hospitals and $25 billion to increase testing. Those are critically important, as we all know, and so it's good to see those included in this bill. A lot of people saw this as like an interim bill because the funding had run out within a matter of days for the PPP and EIDL program, so they thought, okay, let's approve some more money quickly, but the Democrats said no. In this bill, let's also get funding for hospitals and testing. So they got that in. It took a bit longer than expected. You know, this bill was first talked about beginning of last week. So finally, it looks like it's going to be signed within a day, and things are moving. So I'm really happy to report on that. This is good news. And if you haven't already applied for the EIDL 10K advance, probably as soon as this is signed, they will open up the portal again. They shut down the portal last Wednesday, April 15th, because they knew that they wouldn't be able to fulfill the demand with the current funding. So hopefully they'll open it back up and you can apply if you haven't. So the other important things I want to talk about are, besides these federal programs, what else exists? You should apply early and often to different programs. There are private lenders who have zero interest or low interest loans. We have partnered with Kiva.org. Kiva is a nonprofit. They do great work. They're mission driven. They want to help as many small businesses as possible. Same with us. They give out zero interest loans up to $15,000. So that's Kiva. I'm going to leave a link in the notes on how you can. We have a special link you can use that they'll prioritize. So I'll leave that in the comments. So, and also we leave links to all of these, as I mentioned, on the Skip dashboard. So every day we update and add in more information, like if we found out about a new program. For example, yesterday Facebook announced a grant program for small businesses, and so we quickly told some of our users and members, and also everyone who's using the tracker, we told them about the Facebook program. It's in limited cities right now, but they announced it yesterday morning. So many of these programs are kind of apply as quickly as possible. For example, yesterday there was the U.S. Chamber of Commerce put out a grant program, and they closed it the same day because they had an overwhelming number of applications. So a lot of these programs, even if they close temporarily, I think a lot of them are trying to continue to get more funding. So keep that in mind. We're going to continue to curate options for you. But let me just finish the note on the lender options. You know, besides Kiva, there's Lending Club. There are other micro lending sites. PayPal is doing a lot of like low interest loans now. Cabbage, Fundera. So there are options that exist. The question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to take on these loans? That's your decision. Or go after grant opportunities. And if so, the grant opportunities are very competitive, but they're worth looking into. So most major cities and states have some type of grant programs. For example, I'll give a couple examples here. San Francisco has a small business loan program where you can, grant program where you can get up to $50,000. If you qualify, it's basically you have to fall under a certain revenue threshold and have a certain number of employees. They've had that open for a little while. They're closing it tomorrow. So SF has had that. Illinois has a state program similar to the San Francisco one, up to $50,000 for small businesses. Again, many cities and states have these, so I encourage you. We'll try to find some links and put them in the notes and on Skip dashboard, but you can always Google, New York grant programs, Boston grant programs. Boston had a program, but it filled up actually, so they've taken that down. But I think a lot of the times when they stop accepting applications, hopefully it's temporary, and if they get more funding, they'll open it back up. So just Google your city or state to find if there's grant programs that exist and apply. And one of the things we also do is if you tell us what state you're in, we'll email you as soon as new options come up because, like I said, a lot of this is first come, first served, and the demand is overwhelming. So those are the public sector options. There are private sector options like the Facebook piece I mentioned, and as soon as we hear about others, we'll let you know. This is going to be the reality for the next few months. Just to talk about Congress for a second before I wrap up, they are talking about a much larger funding program after this 484 billion is signed, hopefully tomorrow. They're talking about a couple other things. A few options that have been floated, and we talked about in other videos, are $2,000 a month for everyone who qualifies. So anyone who's over 16 would be eligible for $2,000 a month. I mean, that's nuts, but it's being seriously talked about. Or free rent and mortgages. That's another bill that's being talked about. So again, we're talking about not only billions, but probably trillions more in relief that's coming down the pipeline. So I'll continue to update you. I want to end by giving a shout out and plug for two other great resources on YouTube. They do daily videos. They pick up on so much. They're data driven too, and they have just great videos. And they cover things that sometimes I miss or they beat me to the punch. So Max Maher, Maxmaher, Max Maher. I'll leave a link in the notes. And Meet Kevin. Again, they are covering a lot of this. So if you're looking for a lot of as much information as possible, they're a great resource. And we'll continue to find other resources that are helpful, especially when it comes to not only more loan and grant options, but in the next video I'm going to do is spend time talking about jobs. So besides being on unemployment, which by the way, we have an unemployment tracker now too, there are going to be a lot of government jobs. The teaser here will be contact tracing. It's estimated that that'll be close to 300,000 jobs for people who need to help contact tracing, people who've been infected. They were thinking about tapping census workers, but I think there'll be a whole pool of workers needed for contact tracing. So that's one example of a lot of the government jobs that will be needed in the coming months. So we'll keep you posted on that. I'll do a separate video on that. Again, most importantly, Isla left. I guess I was talking too long, but on behalf of her and I, just thanks again for watching and subscribing. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and stay home. Thanks.